Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is the channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on and talk about some books. Now, if you watched my recent Whateverthon vlog, week 4 I think it was, which I will link up above and down below, I talked about a 24-hour reading vlog that I was going to do where I read for 24 hours straight. I do not sleep. I do not try this at home. This is something that I am going to be doing in this video, and you are going to see the delirium and the downward spiral that is inevitably going to be in this video. So welcome to the chaos. So 24-hour reading vlog, what does that mean? It means I'm going to be reading for 24 hours straight. It means I'm not going to be sleeping for those 24 hours, trying to smash out some of the books that are on my TBR for Whateverthon. If you want to know what those books are, check out my Whateverthon TBR up above and down below. Now, there are a few exceptions to this, obviously, things like bathroom breaks, things like food breaks, and then the other exception is I am allowed to obviously leave my house to go and get things that I need, but if I do, I have to have an audiobook playing while I'm doing that so that I'm still technically reading. And then the second exception to this is I actually have a repairman coming from my washing machine to come in to fix that tomorrow morning at around 7 to 9 a.m. That's the slot I've been given. So for that half an hour, 45 minutes or so that he is here, I'm obviously not going to be reading. So that is the sort of second exception to this readathon. And the third and final exception for this readathon is obviously the reading updates, where I talk you through where I'm at in the book and what my thoughts are, because I'm not going to take that out of the time. I'm not going to do 24 hours plus the number of updates that I do with you guys. I'm just going to include that as part of the 24 hours. So let's get started. And then as for what book I'm going to be starting this readathon with, it is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. This is the first book in this series. I think there's like 3 or 4 books in the series. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to do my research. But as for what the book is about, I'm just going to read you the blurb because I don't really know what this series is about. And it says, each year 8 beautiful girls are chosen as paper girls to serve the king. It's the highest honor they could hope for and the most demeaning. This year there's a 9th, and instead of paper she's made of fire. Lay is a member of the paper caste, the lowest and most persecuted class of people in Akara. 10 years ago, her mother was snatched by the royal guards and her fate remains unknown. Now the guards are back, and this time it's Lay they're after, the girl with the golden eyes whose rumoured beauty has piqued the king's interest. Over weeks of training in the opulent but oppressive palace, Lay and 8 other girls learn the skills and charm that befit a king's consort. There, Lay does the unthinkable. She falls in love. Her forbidden romance becomes enmeshed with an explosive plot that threatens her world's entire way of life, and Lay, still the wide-eyed country girl at heart, must decide how far she's willing to go for justice and revenge. So it looks like a fun sort of sapphic fantasy romance, which is super exciting. So yeah, this is the book that I'm going to be reading for this readathon. And there we go. It is officially 10:30 a.m, which means this readathon starts now, and I'm going to immediately crack right into reading this book. I am just under 2 hours into my readathon, and I'm up to chapter 8 in Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. I think that's how you pronounce that author's name. I've heard it in the audiobook a couple times, and I think that's how it was said. But anyway, as for my thoughts on this book so far, it has broken my heart so many times. I appreciate that at the very beginning of this book there was a trigger warning for the readers, in that this book obviously has a lot of scenes of violence and assault, and I didn't expect it to happen so early, especially like right in the first like couple of chapters. The violence that is done against Bao, the little animal, I think it's a dog or something, that is so near and dear to the main character Lay's heart. It killed me, that scene. Like, I think I filmed my reaction where I literally had a couple tears come out of my eyes, because I'm like, I get so attached to like human characters, but that is nowhere near the level of attachment that I get to animal characters in books that I read. And when anything happens that hurts them or anything like that, it literally makes me so upset. But anyway, I'm really enjoying this book so far. It's very descriptive in its language in terms of really situating you in the various lands that Lay is taken through as she makes her way to the palace, and then also the beauty of the palace itself. As for some of the other characters, for some of the other supporting characters, I think I've already got like a feeling as to who the love interest for this particular story is going to be. I think it's going to be not an enemies to lovers, but more of the relationship comes and grows out of a place that is very unexpected, because the interactions between these two characters in the beginning weren't exactly very positive. I am up to chapter 8 and already this book is absolutely killing me. I think I'm going to really love it, but I also know it's going to hit me hard. I am reading the audiobook at the same time because I think that's the best way for me to absorb this content, considering I'm going to get really tired throughout this readathon. As for how I'm feeling now, it's obviously only like 2 hours into the readathon, so I'm not feeling anything, but I'm sure once we get a few more hours in, I am going to start getting really tired, and these updates are going to get really confusing and weird. So we will see how we go, but I'm just going to get back to reading. I got a notification on my phone that my Fairyloot and Illumicrate book subscription boxes are going to arrive today, so I might do a little bit of an unboxing later on in this video, maybe like a delirious unboxing. That might be a bit of fun at like midnight tonight once we're 12 hours in. That can be my reward of powering through this readathon, but we shall see if I have the patience to wait that long, because I am not the sort that can like get a box and then wait to open it. I have no like sense of delayed gratification. Like it's instant gratification for me. If I get a box, I have to open it immediately. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to stop delaying. We are going to get back to this book and have 22 and a bit more hours to go. It is almost 1:30 p.m. and I am roughly 3 hours into the readathon at the moment, and up to chapter 14 in Girls of Paper and Fire. And again, this book is still killing me at the moment. I don't know, there's obviously the whole situation that Lay and these women are being forced into is absolutely horrific, and the part that I'm up to in this book, almost all of the girls have now been selected and spent an evening or more with the king, and some have found a way to use this to their advantage, use the sort of horror and get some benefit for themselves or their family out of it. So there's one particular character that she decides that she's going to essentially get the king drunk every time she's with him, and she's going to get secrets from him. She's going to get him to talk to her and tell her more about the rebel situation happening in his kingdom, and get a bit of intel. And then some of the other girls are obviously, you know, they've gone through this whole experience being really haughty and full of themselves and, you know, judging people for not being selected, but then they come back from their own experience clearly shaken, and clearly this experience with the king has been traumatic for them. So it's been really heartbreaking to see these girls who have gone into this experience very much thinking this is an honor, and then have come out of a night with the king completely heartbroken and shattered and torn in a way. And I'm dreading the moment where Lay has her first experience and she takes the reader through that, because presumably, because there are trigger warnings at the beginning of this book, she is going to take the reader through, or take me through, some of that night with the king, which I'm terrified. I'm genuinely terrified to read that section of the book. There are drunk people singing outside of my window. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. I've discovered that I was completely wrong about the character that I thought would be the love interest in this book. I thought it would be a kind of enemies to lovers situation, but now I'm beginning to think it's more of a unexpected lover sort of situation, where the one girl that you really do not expect to be betraying the king in any sort of way, or going against what her family expects of her, is going to be the one that falls in love with Lay. and I'm really excited to see that relationship blossom a little bit more. I've seen them interact a few times, and there's definitely sparks there. Lay definitely admires this woman, and she definitely has feelings for this woman, just in the way that she describes her grace, the way she moves, her body, how she looks, like everything, all the language that Lay uses when she describes this woman is very, very clear, I think, now that this is going to be who the love interest is, and I'm really, really excited to see that blossom and see the mystery that very much shrouds that particular character sort of be unveiled. But yeah, anyway, this book at the moment, I'm terrified for the next couple of chapters because I know Lay is about to have her first experience with the king, and I don't want to read that, but I also know that I need to in order to get through the rest of this book. I know that that scene is going to make me cry if it goes into the amount of detail that I think it will. Like, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. But anyway, before we go and read that section of this book, I'm going to go and get some lunch, and as per my exceptions, I am allowed to leave my flat, obviously, and go out and get things that I need, that being food, but I have to listen to this book on audiobook while I am doing that. So I'm going to walk over to Greenwich Park, and I'm going to either go to the market if it's open, or potentially just get some McDonald's or something and be really basic and simple, because that's just, I'm feeling like comfort food right now. So I'm gonna go over there with my audiobook playing, and we will get through the next couple of scenes, hopefully without crying in public. So I will update you guys in a little bit, and hopefully this book doesn't tear me up too much, but we'll see. So we are about 5 hours or so into this readathon now, and I'm doing well. We are up to chapter 21 in Girls of Paper and Fire, and man, this book, it's drawing so many emotions out of me, most of them negative, so outrage, sadness, shock, just absolute inability to understand everything that's happening and why it's allowed to happen, and how no one is helping these girls and helping these this paper cast, these people who are treated so viciously, so horrifically. And you know how the king is able to say, oh, you know, a steel cast person was forced to stay with a paper, like, oh, that's disgusting. The outrage of that steel cast person having to stay with someone lesser than them, like that sentence, that line just infuriated me, because this king is so pretentious, and he keeps saying how, you know, he hates that he's called the heavenly father or heavenly something or other, I can't remember what it is, because his actions aren't therefore associated with him, they're associated with his title, and how he deserves to be known for his own actions, and how he knew that he had to kill his older brothers because that was his way to prove that he was the better person and he was deserving of this ruling and this power. And it's just the entitlement and the narcissism. And then when it comes to Lay and her experience with the king, she sort of, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but she sort of makes a move that ends up with her getting punished, and she's forced into confinement as a result. And it absolutely killed me when I was reading it, that her making any sort of statement around what is going on here and how wrong it is literally led her to being forced into confinement, shackled so that she's imprisoned in a way that's more than what she's already dealing with, being unable to leave the palace, you know, ever, basically, even past the year that she's required to stay there as a paper girl. And it just further shows the entitlement and the selfishness of a king who believes that he's owed the loyalty of these women, and who believes he's owed the fascination and the, you know, admiration of these girls is just, I mean, I hate him so much. I have never ever hated a character so much in my entire life, but this guy I hate him, and I hate the example that he's making of certain villagers and certain people to like quash any sort of paper rebellion. One thing that I think is really beautiful is that Lei talks about how she's been able to sort of build a family with the women that are in her position, with these paper women, and how she's been able to find love and respite and family in her relationships with these girls. I think that's so beautiful considering everything they're going through. They're able to actually come together. Like, some of them are able actually to build that relationship with each other and help each other through it. But what broke my heart completely was that Lei feels ashamed and feels guilty about building those relationships with these women, because she feels like she's betraying her family, she's betraying her people by finding some semblance of happiness in this horror that she's experiencing. But I also think it's really, really interesting how this book addresses sort of like the expectations around relationships. They have these courtesans, and this house, I think it's called the Night House or something, where all of the courtesans live, and this is basically people that are only supposed to serve men in the court. And so there are female ones and male ones, and they address that, you know, these male courtesans obviously serving men, but they're not serving the women in the court, and neither, like, the female courtesans the same, serving the men but not serving the women. So it's like, it's okay to have, you know, guy and girl relationships and guy relationships, but it's not okay to have girl and girl. And it's really like ingrained into the system that it's purely to serve men. Anyway, maybe I'm delving into this way too much. This update is way longer than I wanted it to be. This is just to say I'm about 5 hours into my readathon. I'm feeling great. I'm loving this book, but it's breaking my heart, and I'm going to keep reading, and I'm going to update you guys again in a bit. But before I do that, I want to talk about something a little more positive, which is that I just obviously went out and got some lunch, and I jumped into Waterstones while I went out and bought books, which I definitely did not need to do because I've got way too many books. But I found a couple spaces in my shelves, and I thought that I could fill them with some fun little presents for myself. So I wanted to do a quick book haul with you guys, and I'm probably going to redo this later in another video so I can do a more complete one. But here's some of the books that I bought. I got Velvet Was the Night by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which is a book that I have heard talked about so much on BookTube. I believe it's a mystery with sort of like dark, like vibey, like beautiful, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. It's supposed to be really, really vibey. It says romantic, eccentric, and violent. This is a perfect example of neo-noir, and that was the Sunday Times Crime Club that said that. So that it sort of gives those like vibes, I guess. Very dark, very mysterious. So I'm excited to read this one at some point, and I love the sprayed edges there from Waterstones, and it was buy one get one half price, so can't ever say no to that. So this is one of the books. And then I also got 3 more books, and they are the first 3 books in the Twisted Love series. I believe there's one more book called Twisted something, I can't remember, but there's Twisted Love, Twisted Hate, and Twisted Games. I've been getting into like dark romance and stuff a little bit more lately, so I wanted to give these a go. Anyway, these are the other 3 books that I bought in this haul. I'm super excited to read them. Maybe I will do a vlog where I read them all in one week. Let me know if that's something you're interested in seeing. But yeah, that is my mini book haul. So I guess I'm going to get back to reading Girls of Paper and Fire. I might not update you guys until I get to the very end, because I think I only have about 150 pages or so to go, and I know it's about to kick off. I know it, and I know that, you know, the 2 female leads are hopefully going to have some sort of beautiful romantic moment, and then something in the rebellion is going to kick off, I'm hoping. So yeah, maybe I won't update you guys until I get to the end, but we shall see. I'm going to make my way through the rest of this book. We are almost halfway through this readathon. We are at 14 hours and 19 minutes to go. So yeah, my camera is now fully charged, and I'm about 8 or so chapters into Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha and Ngan, but I wanted to first give you my final wrap-up thoughts on Girls of Paper and Fire, which I gave 5 stars. I absolutely flat out loved this book so much, and just the way it dealt with trauma and the way it dealt with just every topic that it covered even was just so respectful and so beautifully written. And
anyway, let me sort of get my thoughts together and then I'll give you my download. So first things first, holy shit just sums up my entire experience with this book. And I think I said that like 6 or 7 times in my last clip. I was just like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit when I finished the book. I knew that the ending was too sweet, the ending was too, you know, happy ending, and I knew that it was never going to be like that in the end. And then that last epilogue, which just threw everything into an absolute whirlwind. I don't want to say I saw it coming, but I kind of did, but I was still shocked by it because I was like, no way did she just do that. Obviously, there are major trigger warnings in this book, and there are obviously major trigger warnings as well in the things that I'm going to discuss about this book. So if you don't want to hear about any of that, then skip to this timestamp right here and you can skip all of this. But the first thing I want to bring up is the way that like assault and different people experiencing sexual assault, how they deal with that and how this book dealt with that topic. So obviously this whole book is sort of based on the premise of these 8 or now 9 girls being chosen to essentially become the king's concubines, to become these paper girls and be at the beck and call of this king who is clearly a very abusive man. And you can really tell that based on how each of the girls talk about their experiences with him and how they talk about him following their experiences. So you have girls like Aoki, I think her name is, who you can tell that after everything that she's gone through with him, she's been absolutely brainwashed by him. And then you've got the complete opposite side of things with characters like Ren and characters like Lei, who have gone through the assault with this man and gone through his temper and his attempts at manipulation and his blatant honesty about how amazing he thinks he is and his narcissism and his selfishness and everything, that they've seen all of that and it's made them hate him. So their experience with this assault that they've gone through with this man has, you know, they've experienced similar situations to each other, but they've all come out with a very, very different perspective of the king. And I think that including those different perspectives and those different experiences of trauma and reactions to trauma is really, really important, because at the end of the day, everybody reacts to trauma differently. Everybody ends up with a very, very different result of how they look at their abuser. And I think it was really, really important for Natasha Ngan to discuss that a little bit and go, you know, not everyone is going to come out of their experience with the king hating him. Some people are going to idolize him. Some people are going to think they're in love with him because they've been manipulated and brainwashed. Moving away from the sort of trauma side of things, I think the world and the characters and the plot and the magic system and the politics and everything was so well built and so well paced, so that you went through the book always feeling like there was something happening that was catching your interest and keeping you very much enthralled in the story. But it wasn't such that you got, or I got lost, or because I find a lot of time with fantasy books, sometimes I get lost in the plot or in the world or in the magic system and I get a little bit confused. But this one, I was very, very clear on everything from the get-go. I do wish that Lei's gold eyes had some sort of magic relating to them, but it sort of seems just like, you know, a circumstance of her birth. I'm hoping that later on we find that she's got some kind of magical power that relates to her gold eyes, but I doubt it. And then the characters, I absolutely fell in love with so many of them and their relationships, Ren and Lei being the obvious one. I know I was talking earlier on in the video, like saying, oh, I'm not going to discuss like, you know, who the female love interest is, but let's be honest, it's going to come up in the second book and I'm not going to be able to discuss the second book without saying her name. So it's Ren. Sorry, I will put a thing in the bottom on the title of this video that it's like, it does have spoilers in it. It is not a spoiler-free blog. But yeah, I thought that their romance was perfectly paced, so it didn't feel too insta-love. You saw those moments of longing and you saw them sort of get to know each other and build that relationship and build that bond. So when they had that moment where the tension finally broke, it was authentic. You believed it rather than feeling it was too quick or anything like that. And again, that's something that happens a lot in fantasy that I just can't get behind, when it's like all of a sudden they love each other and you're like, whoa, when did that happen? But I will admit I'm really, really terrified going forward, because Natasha Ngan right at the end of the book proved that she is not against killing off some of your favorite characters, and she did that right at the end of the book. I'm not going to say who, but it broke my heart when it happened, because I loved that character so much. I thought she was so saucy and fun and fiery, and her death was like, okay, so I guess I'm going to be terrified for the rest of this series, constantly worried about my favorite characters, thinking that they're gonna die. But anyway, I gave this book 5 stars. I think it is incredible. I think it was so respectful, and there were author's notes at the beginning that discussed how, you know, how respectful they believe this book is and how beautifully written it is, and I'm so excited to get into the second book. I'm so mad that I don't have the third book and I can't just make this a, you know, a trilogy readathon, but I will get the third book at some point. I'm probably going to buy the trilogy, not going to lie, I love it so much. But yeah, I love this book, and now I am 6 chapters into Girls of Storm and Shadow and am equally loving this as well. There is a sort of trope that it has brought in that I'm not loving, which is the whole the leader of the rebel movement isn't necessarily a good person just because they're leading a good movement. So I didn't love that when it happened. I felt that was a little bit of a stereotype, a little bit cliche, but I'm hoping that it sort of explores that a little bit more and you get a bit more background behind the character, and hopefully they're just like a bit iffy rather than completely morally corrupt. So yeah, and I'm loving as well that there are multiple POVs in this book. I have seen 2 so far, and I think it's great because it gives you that idea of sort of what's going on in the 2 very separate worlds that are operating. And also it's given me a bit of background behind a character that I didn't really get to see much in the first book, but it was that character was definitely kind of pivotal in a lot of ways in terms of access to the king. So I'm excited to see a little bit more about their background and how they got to where they are now in supporting the king. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm liking the 2 point of views, not loving the little cliche thing that we've got going in there, but I'm hoping for more depth on it. And yeah, as for where I'm at in the readathon, I have got 14 hours to go. I have got my first cup of coffee because I am beginning to feel kind of tired, which is a really bad sign because it's only like 8:20 p.m. and I'm usually able to like stay up really late quite easily, like till midnight quite easily, and not feel tired. But I guess when you're reading all day, it does make your eyes tired. So this isn't an experience I've ever had before where I've literally read for an entire day. Like obviously I had little breaks with my audiobook where I went and, you know, went out and did things, and I think that was helpful to like get away from staring at a book and, you know, giving my eyes a break for a little bit because I don't want to end up with like a massive headache. But I think I'm getting really tired already, and I don't want that because I've still got 14 hours to go. But we will see. I will check in with you guys later. Hopefully this isn't too delirious and mumbo jumbo, whatever it is, whatever the wording is. But yeah, I will check in with you guys in a bit, and once we hit the halfway mark, I'm going to unbox the Fairyloot and Illumicrate book subscription boxes that arrived today. As just like a little reward for myself for getting halfway through this vlog. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so we have almost hit the halfway point. We have 54 seconds to go until we reach 10:30 p.m, which is our halfway point for this 24-hour readathon. And as promised, I'm going to do a book unboxing for the Fairyloot and Illumicrate subscription boxes that I received today. So if I look a bit different, I'm sorry. I've taken my makeup off. I've gotten changed into some comfy clothes for this evening because at the end of the day, I still want to be comfortable even though I'm not going to be falling asleep. And I know that wearing makeup for 24 hours straight is going to be really bad for my skin, and the makeup's just going to look progressively worse. So I figure you can just see my bare face and deal with it. So hopefully that doesn't offend anyone. But yeah, at the moment I am up to chapter 12 in Girls of Storm and Shadow, and again I'm still loving it. They are beginning to make alliances at the moment. They've gone to the bird clan first, which is naturally very interesting because there are a few members of this gang that are from the cat clan, and there's like a known historic rivalry between those two. So it's interesting watching some of that play out in the ways that some of the characters are like antagonizing the people that they're trying to make an alliance with, while other characters are like, shut up, like we're trying to convince these people to like us. So in that way, it's definitely been entertaining. There are a lot of sort of more comedic characters in this book as well, which is sort of breaking up some of the like political moments that are definitely very prevalent. I would like to see a little bit more interaction between Ren and Lei, but I completely understand why there isn't, because at the end of the day they are in their big group of people and they're never really getting any alone time, so naturally you're not going to see much happening between the two of them. They do talk about a lot happening between them, but yeah, not really. And then also there's some really interesting commentary at the moment from some of the younger members of the Bird Clan, where they're essentially saying that, you know, despite the good nature and the good intentions of this rebellion, they think it's just going to end up the same way as the previous one did, with another tyrant male on the throne and the voices of the women continuing to be squashed. So whilst they're willing to make an alliance with the rebellious group that has come to visit them, that being Lay and her sort of group of ragtag different demon people, that younger generation really doesn't think that anything's really going to change, and they don't think that this sort of women-led approach that Lay has been preaching and talking about and really encouraging is really going to happen. But I'm rambling. We are going to go to the book unboxing now. So I've taken the tape off of both of these boxes, and we are going to start with Fairyloot. This is the YA subscription box, and it's the book only box. I decided to sort of downgrade to book only while I was in the moving process. As you can see, there's still like boxes and stuff everywhere. We haven't completely unpacked, and I'm in the lounge at the moment because if I'm doing a 24-hour readathon, I don't want to be keeping Ben awake. So I've set myself up like an airbed in the lounge, so it's like super comfy. But anyway, so the book unboxing. We've got the book here in the lovely sort of Fairyloot packaging. So we're gonna open this up, see what's inside, see what beauty we've got this time. So we've got the spoiler card with some beautiful artwork on the front. I'm not sure who this artwork was done by, but it is absolutely gorgeous. And then we've also got an author letter with, again, beautiful, beautiful artwork, which is done by Alice Maria Power. So yeah, I love that. Love the sort of shroud and like veil over the main character. And then we've got the book, which is The Vicious Grace by Emily Theed. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's a beautiful like golden yellow color. So we've got an exclusive cover. We've got stenciled sprayed edges. I don't know if the pattern is coming across very clearly, but it's sort of like a, I don't know, like a leaf, like Hawaiian leaf design. And then artwork on the end papers as well. Is it the same on the back? Oh no, it's different on the back. So it's a guy on the back, and then we've got a girl on the front. And the artwork on the end papers is done by Gabrielle Ragusi. And the book is also signed by the author, I believe. Yep. So signed by the author as well. So it's a beautiful, beautiful Fairyloot edition. Oh, and we've got foiling on the hardcover as well. So it's like a beautiful brown hardcover, and then this like lovely golden foiling with a woman on the front cover, which is really, really pretty, and then nice spine as well. I'm really, really liking this. This is really cute. I love how summery it feels, like just the yellow and the vines and everything feels really pretty. But anyway, as for what it's actually about, it says, Alessa's gift from the gods is supposed to magnify a partner's magic, not kill every suitor she touches. Now, with only weeks left until a swarm of demons devours everything on her island home, Alessa is running out of time to find a partner and stop the invasion. When a powerful priest convinces the faithful that killing Alessa is the island's only hope, even her own soldiers try to assassinate her. Desperate to survive, Alessa hires Dante, a cynical outcast marked as a killer, to become her personal bodyguard. But as rebellion explodes outside the gates, Dante's dark secrets may be the biggest betrayal. Dante holds the key to Alessa's survival and her heart. Is he the only person who can help her master her gift, or will he destroy her once and for all? So yeah, it looks like a sort of like fantasy romance kind of thing, and I really like that. It's really summery, really pretty, gives me great summer vibes, so maybe I'll read this when I go to Australia in August/September. I think this would be a good one to take along with me. So that's this book. I've got the beautiful yellow Illumicrate box here, so we will open it up. I've already done the tape. I love that it says on the front there, a little inspiration for your day. I think that's super sweet. But yeah, so let's find out what the book we've got here is. So we've got an author note. We won't read that because that will give away what the book is. Then we've got our fabulous yellow pouch. So let's open this up. One thing I do miss about book-only subscription boxes is that you don't get the bookmarks anymore. And I have a really good collection of bookmarks going, so I was kind of hoping that I would get those, but unfortunately not. But We All Fall Down by Rose Sabo. What is with the difficult to pronounce authors' names this time? I'm really struggling. But yeah, this is the book. So exclusive cover, I think, probably foiling on the cover. And then we've got Just a simple sort of green hardback, beautiful spine falling on the spine. It is signed, and then we've got sprayed edges as well. And that's it, there's no like designed end papers. So yeah, let's find out what this book is about. It says, in River City, where magic used to thrive and is now fading, the witches who once ruled alongside their powerful king have become all but obsolete. The crumbling government is now controlled primarily by the new university and teaching hospital, which has grown to take over half the city. Moving between the decaying old city and the ruthless new city, 4 young queer people struggle with the daily hazards of life: work, school, and dodging power-hungry cops and unscrupulous scientists, not realizing that they have been selected to play in an age-old drama that revives the flow of magic through their world. When a mysterious death rocks their fragile peace, the 4 are brought into each other's orbits as they uncover a deeper magical conspiracy. Devastating, gorgeous, and utterly unique, We All Fall Down examines the complex network of pain created by power differentials, even between people who love each other, and how it is possible to be queer and turn out just fine. I really love that. I love this sort of LGBT rep and how this is completely focused around LGBT characters. I think that's really, really lovely. I don't think you see many fantasies with that. So I'm looking forward really actually to reading this. I think it'll be a good read, and maybe you might see it in this blog. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll see, because obviously it does fit into the sort of whatever-thon reading books focusing around LGBT characters. But to be honest, I'm planning on doing like a competition series between Fairyloot and Illumicrate book subscription boxes, so maybe I'll save it for that. I don't know. We'll decide later when I'm sort of delirious and tired and can't figure out what I want to read next. So, as promised, that was the unboxing of my 2 latest book subscription boxes. I'm really, really hoping to get the Fairyloot adult subscription box, the book only one. I'm on the waiting list, but I haven't received it yet, and I really, really, really want to. But we shall see. Hopefully they take me off the wait list soon. As for what I'm going to do now, I've got pizza on the way. I ordered Domino's because I'm a basic bitch, and I am going to keep reading Girls of Storm and Shadow while I wait for that to arrive, and then when it does, I'm going to listen to the audiobook while I eat so that I am not like taking a break from the reading. So yeah, I will give you an update when I'm a little bit more delirious in a little bit. So I'll see you soon. I feel like the delirium's setting in, so the updates from here on out are just gonna be mumbles and nonsense. So let's see when I'm editing this if it actually makes any sense, and if it doesn't, I'm still going to keep it in because that is a promise I'm making to myself right now. But yeah, I'm very, very tired. We have 9 hours and 41 minutes left in this readathon, so it is just about midnight at the moment looking at my phone, and I am obviously reading Girls of Storm and Shadow, and I'm up to chapter 22, and again, I'm enjoying this book so far. It definitely seems to be a lot more like military strategy this time around. It's more like, it's like the classic second book where it's setting everything up for the big fight that's sort of inevitable in the third and final book in the trilogy. I'm not getting a lot of time with Ren and Lei. I really, really like their romance. I think it's really, really cute, but again, yeah, not getting a ton of time with them. But we are getting a ton of time with like the fun side characters. So there's this set of twins who are Bo and Nita, and they are definitely like the comedic relief in this book, which I can definitely appreciate. And then also there's this like really cute romance going on between Bo, who is a cat demon, and Mirren, or Mirton, I can't remember his name, oh my god, it's getting so bad. But anyway, who is a bird demon, or an owl demon, I think, and obviously those two like species are known for having like a really tumultuous past and not liking each other and having a lot of conflict, so it's kind of cute that there's like a star-crossed lovers romance happening between those two at the moment as well. It's also giving these point of views from like on the king's side of things. So we've had a point of view from Naja, who is the king's like first in command, like it's his right hand. And then we've had the point of view from Kenzo, who's obviously been imprisoned by the king. We've had the point of view from Aoki, who was one of the characters in the first book who I think was like brainwashed by the king, and she believed that she was in love with him despite all of the trauma that he was inflicting on her. And so she's met up with the king since obviously the drama of the end of the last book happened. She's met up with him for the first time since all of that.
and I don't think he's reacted overly well to what happened and what they talked about in their meetup. And I think she's beginning to question her feelings for him a little bit, and like when she's around him, she's definitely still that subservient, like brainwashed by him, but then whenever she's away from him, I think she's having this like dose of reality based on like how her and the other paper girls are sort of being left to fend for themselves and not looked after anymore. So that sort of haze of like rose-colored glasses, I think, seems to be leaving. So it's interesting seeing that some of them come to the realization that, you know, this situation is shit, for lack of a better word. But yeah, no, it's good. I'm not loving it as much as the first book, because it's less about the characters and more about building the sort of political tensions and getting those alliances, and it's sort of that strategic stuff, and I'm not a huge fan of strategic stuff in the books that I read. Like, I like the action and the plot and the characters and the world and everything, but I care less about the military strategy. So hopefully we get a little bit of action towards the end of this book. Hopefully we get a bit more time with Ren and Lei. Hopefully, you know, the comedic stuff continues with Bo and Nitta. But yeah, I am delirious. I am really tired. I am gonna need to get my energy drink soon, because it's, man, the tiredness is really hitting me. And man, I'm glad I'm reading this like on audiobook and in the physical copy as well, because otherwise I would have definitely fallen asleep by now. So yeah, I'm enjoying the book. And I will check in with you guys again later once I have read a bit more. I'm definitely going to finish this tonight. That's my goal. And then hopefully pick up another couple of books before the end of this readathon. We shall see. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Oh my god. I don't even know what to say about this story anymore. Holy shit. Like, all the characters that I loved so much are either dead or I now hate them. Sorry, I had to adjust the angle a little bit slightly because my camera was really far away, and I realized that you guys probably can't hear me if it's that far away. But this book has, I'm so tired that it probably sounds like I'm slurring my words, so I apologize if I am, but this book has gone into new levels on just the horrors of war and the insane and heartbreaking actions that people that you love have to take in order to do, you know, what they think is right, in order to win a war. You know, it's the whole question of like whether the ends justify the means, and at the moment I'm just not seeing how the ends could ever justify the means taken that Ren and her father have taken to win this war and to incite outrage and incite anger against the current king. And maybe, you know, this one particular raid that's really integral to the scene that's just happened in this book wasn't intentionally supposed to hit Lei so hard. I don't think it was intentional at all, but man, it just makes me hate Ren so much that this was done and that she kept the secret from Lei all this time, and let Lei just believe that this was all done by the king. And don't get me wrong, the king's horrible and he deserves to be hated in such a massive way, but you know, I don't think, you know, Ren and her father are any better. And Ren's willingness to let literally anyone in her group die in order to make this war happen is insane. And so many members of her group now have died or just left because they've had enough. And I feel like I'm in crisis at the moment because I loved Ren so much in the first book, and now I see no path to redemption for her. I want like nothing to do with that character. I want Lei to like get the hell out. I want Lei to start like a rebellion of her own against Ren and her dad. It's just insane how quickly this whole situation has spiraled. But yeah, I'm in shock. I'm incredibly tired. It is 2:40 a.m. in the morning and I have about 7 hours and 50 minutes left in this readathon, and my god, I've got my energy drink now, so I'm hopefully going to use
this lovely drink here to help me get through the rest of this readathon, but far out, I am so tired and I am going to have the biggest sleep on Sunday to catch up on the hours that I've missed tonight, because whew, this is killing me. I probably should have thought about this a lot harder before I did it. I probably should have done like 12 hours straight before I jumped straight into 24. But anyway, maybe it's because I'm tired that I'm getting so emotional about this, but this, oh wow, I have no words. This book has completely changed my perception of everything and of so many characters, and that comedic relief is just now gone from this series, and I'm like borderline mad at the author for like betraying my soul so intensely, but I'm still hooked by this story. I still want to know how Ren could possibly come back from the horrors that she's allowed to happen, or maybe not even allowed to happen, but like the horrors that she has lied about to the person that she's supposed to be in love with. Like, ugh. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. I need to shut up now, because otherwise this vlog is going to be a million hours long, but I'm going to keep reading and continue to break my own heart, most likely.
A few moments later.
6 hours and 20 minutes left in this readathon. The sun is starting to rise and I have just finished Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Ngan, which I gave 4 stars at the end of the day. As you can tell from my updates throughout this video, it was a very emotional, just roller coaster style read. I don't know how to feel about this book. I don't know how to feel about the end of this book, especially because it made me question all of the characters that I loved so much in the first book, and it made me sort of lose respect for some of them and also begin to think that others were being brainwashed by even some of my favorite characters. Like, I began to think that Lei's devotion to Ren wasn't genuine love as much as it was maybe obsession or devotion born out of a really traumatic situation rather than devotion born out of like genuine feeling, because the way she was able to just sort of forgive everything that happened in this book and like be so desperate to make her way back to Ren, I couldn't cope with that. It just wasn't right. Anyway, as for my actual review, as I said, I gave this book 4 stars, and like I said, I don't know how to feel about the characters in this book. Whilst I understand that the trauma that they experience have resulted in them having certain attitudes to certain things and, you know, sort of being more inclined to certain actions because of their experiences, I think there were some characters where the actions that they took were completely unforgivable, and I can't understand how they're going to come back from that in the final book. If they do come back from that in the final book, I'm unlikely to really get behind some of those characters anymore, just because of what they've done and what they've lied about. But the rest of this book was just incredible. I mean, the author proved that she is not afraid to give you your favorite characters and make you fall in love with them and then tear them away from you, whether that be through betrayal or death or lies or whatever it may be. She is not afraid to just tear them from you. And then also not afraid to give you some of your least favorite characters that you absolutely sort of either hate or became really annoyed with towards the end of the first book, and then make you see hidden depths to them that give you a completely different perspective on who they are, what their motivations are, everything that they've experienced. And for me, that was like Aoki. I began to get really annoyed with her at the end of the first book, but in this book I understood her a lot more, and that left me feeling incredibly conflicted, and I don't know what to expect going into this third book. As for the sort of plot and pacing of this one, I think it was a lot slower paced than the previous book. There's meant to be a lot more emphasis around strategy and making alliances, and you know, there's some military sorts of things that aren't really of interest to me, so it was very slow paced, I think, in the first like half of the book before it really started to kick off once one of Ren's old flames came back into the picture and things really started to get going, I think. But given how this book ended, literally anything can happen now going into the third book. Like, I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what alliances are still there, and I am absolutely terrified but I am not going to be reading the third book for this now. One, because I don't have it on me, and two, because these first two books have just been so emotionally like soul destroying in so many ways and so hard hitting and so intense that I just need something light and simple and easy, and I just want to read like a romance or something easy breezy. So I've got a couple of options for books that I want to read to finish out this readathon. The first one is Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. This is a follow-up novella, I think, following on from the Heartstopper series. It's about Nick and Charlie, who are obviously the two main characters in the Heartstopper graphic novel series. They are beautiful. I will link up above and down below a video where I talk about that series in more detail, because I've read that graphic novel so many times that I don't want to bore you guys going through again if you've watched a number of my videos what that series is about. So do go check out my other videos where I talk about those books in more detail. But I think this book particularly addresses the fact that, you know, Nick is a year older than Charlie, which means he's going to graduate from high school a year before Charlie does. And so they're sort of going through that, what happens now, like what happens once Nick leaves school and Charlie's still at school and Nick goes off to university. Like how is that relationship going to work? I think this book goes through a little bit more about the anxieties of like the next steps in their relationship and whether they're going to be together forever. So this is one of the obvious contenders for me. And again, it's really light, easy breezy. The text is super big. It's got like pictures and stuff throughout the book, so it should be a super quick read. So I think this is pretty much an automatic yes, I'm going to read this. But then if I finish this, I'll have time for one more book most likely. So I have got two options, and they are books that I've actually hauled really recently. So there was one book that I hauled today, which is Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and this is a dark romance. And you know what, even though it's dark, it's still a romance and it's supposed to be kind of smutty and kind of fun, so I thought that might be a fun one to give a go. And then the second one is The Falling in Love Montage by Kiara Smith. I'm not sure how to pronounce that author's name. And this is a sapphic romance. I don't know a lot about it. It was just on the sort of suggested LGBT reads table on Waterstones, and the cover just kind of caught my eye. So yeah, these are my two options for follow-up after Nick and Charlie. But yeah, for right now, I'm going to read Nick and Charlie, and I will give you my thoughts as soon as I finish it. Yeah, we've got 6 hours, 15 minutes to go. So definitely got time to read this, but it is worth noting that the repairman for my washing machine is going to come in about 3 to 4 hours time, so I'm gonna have to take a break for that when that happens, and I'm not adding that time to the end because man, I am so tired. And it was really bad. I started to get like physically like nauseous about half an hour or 45 minutes ago, and I was feeling so ill because I haven't done an all-nighter like this since university, and I graduated from uni in like 2018, so it's been 4 years since I did an all-nighter like this, and man, never in my life have I felt so old. Like I'm not, like I'm only like 24 years old. Like I'm by no, you know, measure of the word old, but I just felt so like falling apart at the seams, and I had like an energy drink, but the energy drink was making me feel even worse, and then I had some more of my pizza, but that made me feel even worse. So I was just like, what am I gonna do? Like I don't want to go to bed, I want to fill out this like readathon, I want to commit to the 24 hours. Luckily that sort of nausea thing went away, so I would not recommend to anyone doing this, just because man, it takes a toll on you, and I am so tired, and I know I'm going to be so grumpy for the rest of today because it's Sunday now, and I just feel bad for the demon that Ben is about to deal with today. And I've got so many errands that I need to do because I'm like going through the process of becoming a British citizen, so I need to go and get my new passport photo taken. So I have so many errands that I have to do, so I can't just sleep for the rest of the day. So I'm sorry, Ben, if I become a horrible human being today. And to be honest, after this 24-hour readathon, I'm probably going to go into a massive reading hangover, because just the emotional like drain of reading Girls of Paper and Fire and Girls of Storm and Shadow was insane. But anyway, I am rambling because I am so tired and I'm delirious and my thoughts are all over the place, if you can't already tell. So yeah,
I'm not going to edit out any of this ramble though, because I promised you guys like a video where I would absolutely like just be delirious, and if I edit out this deliriousness, then I'm not being authentic to that promise. So that's me over explaining something that doesn't need to be explained. So you know what, shut me up now. I'm just gonna get reading this and I will let you know my thoughts in a bit.